Hello my quilting friends, my name is Leah Day and today I am stitching Roots Reaching Water. So this is going to be a really fun organic design. Starts out with a long wiggly line and now I'm branching out with tree roots. And this is a design that it was really one of the very first designs that I stumbled across with the Free Motion Quilting project. And it seems very simple, but it can be a little tricky to get the hang of. So basically you're branching out with a wiggly line, just like this, but you must travel stitch back a short distance, let's say a quarter of an inch when I'm stitching on a small scale like this. And that travel stitching back is what gives you that nice extra travel stitching, that little bit of thread density, and it also allows you to branch out with another curving line in a slightly different direction, just like so. So I am going to fill in 1/2 of my square with these roots and just keep it nice and random, branching down into the center of the quilting space. Now for the second part of this design, I stitched all of my tree roots down into the center, and because this is such an organic freeform design, definitely vary the depth of those tree roots. Bring some of them down nice and long and make also some of them nice and short. So now for the second part of the design, we're going to stitch a wiggly line just echoing right along the edge of those tree roots. I don't want to hit them, I just want to set a foundation for my water. And so now once I have that foundation set, I just travel stitch along the edge of my quilting space and echo it. It's that simple. And if you want to, you can play around with widening the distance between these lines, making that distance closer, further apart. It's entirely up to you. You could also mix it up and stitch an entirely different design down here. You could stitch pebbles in a stream. I was thinking about that. So basically that just adds some pebbles randomly within this water area. You can see how this will look if you just continue stitching echoes, and that is perfectly fine. Here's a picture of one little square that I stitched with just echoes, and now I want to give it a try stitching in some pebbles. I think this is really going to take it up another notch. So we want to form a gap line. This is basically an area that widens out, creates just a little bit of space for our pebbles to go. And I want this to be just as random and free form as our echoes, as our other lines. And so now I'm going to fill this little gap in with circles, with pebbling. And this is just stitching a small circle and then stacking another circle next to it. You're going to have to do some very tiny, tight travel stitching. That's stitching right on top of a previous line of stitching. And it is time consuming, as you can see. Take your time on it, slow down, and get some control over your foot pedal. No, I'm not using a stitch regulator whenever I'm quilting on a home sewing machine like this. So it's definitely going to be something that pushes you to master speed control on your machine. And notice how slowly I'm moving my hands. I'm not moving the quilt very fast at all. That's part of the way I get nice tiny little stitches. So I'm just going to finish filling in this little area. And I really think that that adds to it. It just adds another little organic element to this very beautiful organic design. And you can continue mixing and matching, adding other designs if you wanted to. Undulation is a cool design. It's one of my favorites now. And it's a cool way of playing with echo quilting. You could add that. You could do more of this pebbles in a stream. You could add in a totally funky design that doesn't even seem like it would fit like left turn, right turn. That would almost make it look like a city was underneath the roots and underneath the water. I think something like that would be really cool. So now I'm going to travel stitch all the way back over. I just want to build up thread all along the bottom edge of my pebbles. And now I'll get back to that echo quilting. And I think I'll just fill in the rest of this. I might do a little bit of pebbling maybe in one corner, but I'm going to fill up most of this with more echoes, just simply so that way the design doesn't get too complicated. I know it's definitely on the verge of being quite complex. Maybe I'll fill in a few pebbles down in here. That will look really, really good. And then a few pebbles on the other side. Now, you might be wondering, is this possible to stitch on a real quilt? Definitely, this is an artistic quilting design. I would highly recommend this for an art quilt. I think that would be absolutely gorgeous to stitch on a small scale. I'm not so sure about quilting it on a larger scale, to be perfectly honest. I worry that the really organic freeform elements would kind of get lost or maybe even look a little bit weird in a quilt, like a bed quilt style. But then again, you know, the sky's the limit. You can really play with this and just see what's going to happen. I don't believe in putting any kind of rules on where you can stitch a design. It's wherever you think it's going to look best. So I'm going to fill in a few more pebbles right here. And this is what it looked like whenever I finished stitching Roots Reaching Water.